Travels by Broomstick comes to you from South Wales, the land of the dragon. Oh, and sheep. We got lots of sheep. Welcome to all you good people out there in podcast land. So, let's get the broomstick out the garage, and off we go. Today's journey takes us to Abergavenny Castle, situated on Castle Street, Abergavenny, Monmouthshire, Wales, in the UK. Our tale today is one of betrayal, bloodshed and bloody battles, as we tell you the tale of the massacre that would rival that of the Red Wedding in Westeros. But this isn't the Game of Thrones. This is the nasty Norman invaders and their quest to conquer the British Isles.
We start our journey at the castle meadows. It would have looked very different 200 years ago when the riverside fields provided rich grazing for drovers who rested their cattle here. Grass was a valuable commodity, and in 1871 two Carmarthenshire drovers who were en route to Gloucestershire spent 4 shillings on grass for their herd and only 2 shillings on food and drink for themselves while they were staying overnight. The Welsh black cattle graze between August and January. They are the only native Welsh breed of cattle and provide high quality milk and meat. They are so cute. I just love Welsh black cows.
Yeah, me too, with some horseradish or some French mustard. Businesses associated with cattle cluster around Mill Street, the skin yard and tannery, and the Tanner's Arms pub. These are all located on the outskirts of the town, downwind, as they created a decidedly unpleasant aroma. The Usk River used to flow much closer to the castle, enhancing its defensive position during the bloody power struggles between the Welsh and the Marcher lords in the 12th and 13th centuries. The Welsh black cattle would have been brought in from the meadows at this time for safekeeping within the town walls.
Abergavenny Castle is now just crumbling ruins, with only a small part of the castle still standing. Abergavenny Museum was founded in 1959 and is set in the grounds of this ruined Norman castle. The museum building was formerly a hunting lodge built by the Marquess of Abergavenny. The displays in the museum tell the story of the historic market town, and most importantly, it has a nice little gift shop, and you all know how much I love a gift shop.
Abergavenny Castle was built by the Normans. The Norman invaders were ruthless in their pursuit of new territory as they forced their rule on England. During the harrying of the north, over 100,000 Saxons were said to have died at the hands of the Norman invaders. But in Wales, it took the Normans a lot longer to conquer the Welsh lands. But the Normans were relentless in their pursuit and soon conquered and settled the land and would marry into the local Welsh families. I did the same, funnily enough.
The Norman noblemen would marry into the Welsh noble families, learning the local customs, the local language, and assimilating into Welsh life. The Normans were descendants of Vikings. Now, I know that we're talking about Game of Thrones, but Vikings is also another fantastic television series. Anyway, these Vikings settled in northern France, specifically in the region of Normandy.
King Rollo, a Scandinavian Viking leader, agreed to swear fealty to King Charles III of West Francia, the Kingdom of France, following the siege of the Charters in 911, which would eventually expand into the Duchy of Normandy.
Over time, they integrated with the local population, adopting their language and customs, and developed a distinct Norman identity in the first half of the 10th century. An identity that would continue to evolve over the centuries. They are most famously known for conquering England in 1066, as Duke William of Normandy led the Norman invasion of England, defeating the Anglo-Saxon forces at the Battle of Hastings under William the Conqueror, an event that dramatically changed English history. Between 1066 and 1204, as a result of the Norman conquest of England, most of the kings of England were also Dukes of Normandy, and an Anglo-Norman culture developed in the British Isles.
In 1175, the borders between England and South Wales were fraught with danger. The Welsh were engaging in uprisings and rebellions. They were attacking the lesser noblemen and their officials, and killed Henry Fitzmiles, the Lord of Abergavenny, and his son.
Henry Fitzmiles was killed by the forces of Cecil ap Devonwall, a half-Welsh, half-Norman lord of the Kingdom of Gwent. Upon Henry Fitzmiles' death, the castle was passed to his daughter's husband, William de Braose, a notorious Norman baron. And this is where the Game of Thrones Red Wedding style massacre takes place. A lavish medieval feast, the great hall packed full of noblemen to celebrate Christmas together, but the trust was broken and it all descends into tragedy, treachery and bloodshed.
The earliest account of the Abergavenny massacre comes from Gerald of Wales, who was a medieval cleric and chronicler who toured South Wales with the Archbishop Baldwin. It was Christmas Day 1175. William de Bros had invited Saesith ap Devonwall, along with other Welsh chieftains from the surrounding area, to dine with him at his castle for a great Christmas banquet. A feast was to be provided, ale would be flowing, music would be playing, and merriment was to be had by all, or so they thought.
William de Bros had invited everyone to the castle under the pretense of reconciliation, to make peace, but peace was the last thing on his devious little mind. Everyone would have been sat together. They would have been dressed in their finery. Their horses would have been placed in the castle stables. No armour or weapons would have been allowed in the hall. Everything would have been left at the entrance to the hall. Everyone who arrived at the castle was now unarmed. Food and ale started to flow, music started to play, then suddenly, halfway through the night's celebrations, the music stopped, and William de Bros stood up to make a speech, and a proclamation read out on behalf of the King Henry II. He proclaims that it is now forbidden to be armed when riding on the highway. These were dangerous times, and there was uproar. Men started shouting and arguing in disagreement. Chaos ensued, but this was all a ploy, a signal to William de Bros's men who were watching, waiting in the shadows, all armed and ready to attack. The Welsh guests, unable to protect themselves, were savagely slaughtered. The hall was a scene of pure horror. The walls ran red with blood. The stone floor covered in dozens of butchered bodies, left lifeless, betrayed and bloody.
All of the Welsh chieftains and their wives were left for dead, including Saesith ap Devonwall. But his wife and 7-year-old son did not come to the feast, but this did not mean that they were safe.
After the murder at the banquet hall, the men all mounted their horses, and the soldiers were ordered to kill all of the families of the attendant chieftains until there was nobody left. They galloped the few miles to Saesith's home, where they killed his 7-year-old son, Cadwallader, and captured his wife, whose exact fate is uncertain. This awful act by de Bros was to avenge his own uncle's death, Henry Fitzmiles. His strategy was to eliminate all those who were responsible for his death and effectively removing the experienced leadership of the Welsh forces in the area. Destabilising the region and seizing the opportunity to gain the upper hand, the effect was to drive a massive wedge into Anglo-Welsh relations for generations to come.
William de Bros earned the nickname the Ogre of Abergavenny for his retribution on his enemies' families. Saesith's death was avenged in 1182 by Howell ap Lorveth, the Welsh Lord of Caerleon, in a campaign in which Sheriff of Hereford, Randolph de Puer, was killed. Abergavenny Castle was stormed and de Bros fell from royal favour, dying in exile.
The castle was destroyed during the English Civil War. As the Roundheads neared the castle, Charles I ordered a slighting, the deliberate damage of the castle to reduce its value and prevent useful occupation. Most of the castle buildings, including the stone keep, were destroyed. By the late 18th century, the castle ruins were starting to attract visitors who were seeking picturesque views.
The castle ruins are now Grade 1 listed, and the museum is a Grade 2 listed building. The museum is located in the 1819 hunting lodge on top of the old motte. The castle grounds were opened to the public in 1881, and the museum was opened on July the 2nd, 1959. When you visit the castle, you first come to the gatehouse, which is a typical barbican, a wall or tower which protected a castle gate from attack. When the castle was first built in the 13th century, the gate was a simple opening in the curtain wall, the outside of which is still visible on the inside of the wall.
Unusual door features suggest that the gatehouse was added in the early 15th century. At this time, the last Welsh War of Independence was being fought under Owain Glyndŵr. In 1403, there was an uprising against William Beauchamp, who was then Lord of Abergavenny. It was recorded that Henry IV ordered him to look to the defences of the castle. Thus, the gatehouse was built in response to this. Abergavenny was besieged by the Welsh rebels in 1404. William Beauchamp and his men had to be rescued by Richard of York, along with men assembled by the Sheriff of Hereford at King Henry IV's request.
In 1405, the garrison at the castle consisted of 80 mounted soldiers, their armed servants and 400 archers. Abergavenny Castle did not have a moat, and instead had a dry ditch with a drawbridge.
From the gatehouse, we move on to the castle cellar, which is now home to beautiful bats. It dates back to the 13th or 14th century and may have been used as a prison or a dungeon. Alternatively, it could have also been used as a barrack block for temporary accommodation, as well as a place of storage for ills and meat. The castle is rumoured to be haunted, with a lot of paranormal phenomena associated with the ruins. One legend revolves around Caesar's son David, who was reportedly executed within the castle dungeons after his father and kin were murdered. Locals claim to hear his mournful cries within the darkness of the castle keep at night. A large black dog, a common motif of Welsh folklore, is said to guard treasure that has been buried beneath the castle after the English Civil War. The dog is said to only appear to those who approach the castle with greed in their hearts. The slaughtered men from the Christmas massacre are said to wander the castle ruins. Shadow figures catch your eye in the darkness, and their mournful moans can be heard.
There has also been a story that has been passed down through generations that Abergavenny Castle is rumoured to have a secret tunnel that connects it to St Mary's Priory Church, though its existence is not definitively proven. Tales of tunnels used by monks of fleeing nobles have persisted, and some partial vaulted structures have actually been found. Though no complete tunnel has been uncovered, it's something of a mystery.
Well, after those tales of terrifying ghosts and bloodshed, how many brooms do you give Abergavenny Castle?
I'm going to give it 4.5 brooms. I'm going to dock it half a broom because it's a ruin. A bit like me, really. I'm going to dock me half a broom as well.
Do you believe that the castle is haunted? And while we visited, did you feel a presence of any spirits?
No, I didn't feel any presence of any spirits, but yes, I think it is haunted. The museum is good, and it's got a gift shop.
Ah, yes, I do love a gift shop. So if you join us next week, we will step inside the museum and tell you the tale of a dog named Whiskey.
Yes, I look forward to that. Well, that concludes our adventures for this week at Abergavenny Castle. We hope you've had a magical time. Bye now.
What do we say to the god of death? Not today.